All right, guys, these are the fragrances that I would buy if I was building my collection over or if I was starting over. It's 2026, and I started building my collection after I got into the fragrance community and started shooting content in 2012. So 14 years later, the world of fragrances has changed. Some of the fragrances that I've been really, really obsessed with and recommended a lot probably are old to some people. So I'm putting together a list here of 25 fragrances with 2 bonus options for you that I would consider if you were looking into building a collection. These would be the ones that you should look and find and get your nose on and perhaps add to your collection. So I'm going to give you a little history. Then we're going to start with the fragrances and go over the fragrances, and I'll smell them on camera for you. So this is going to be a longer than normal video. More of like a short deep dive with a little history of me and my interest in fragrances. I started shooting videos in 2012. It was August of 2012. That was my very first video. And I don't remember it because that channel is no longer. I don't have that channel to access anymore because it's gone. And so I can't tell you what my first video was. And I had quite a few videos on the previous channel. This channel was started in 2015, April of 2015. So still, it's over 11 years old. But if the previous channel was around, it would be older than 13 years. So 13 years? Yeah. 14 years. What am I saying? 2012. Yeah. 13 and a half, 14 years. So yeah, I've been a fan of fragrances for some time. And I had a collection when I first started shooting content because I saw content being shot on YouTube. YouTube was also pretty new. I started watching content late 2000s into like 2010, 2011. I was watching a lot of fragrance content. And finally in 2012, I said to myself, it was just after the big crash. There was not a lot of work. I worked in the music business, although it was picking up again. I said, you know what, I'm gonna do videos myself. I love fragrances. I love wearing them. I can dig into it. I had already discovered base notes like almost 10 years prior, perhaps. And so I was already looking up fragrances and things like that. So I dared myself to do fragrance content. I was shooting with a really bad camera at the time, and so started shooting content. So the fragrances that I started buying at that time are completely different than the fragrances if I started today I would be buying. That's kind of why I'm doing this video. So I'm going to mention some fragrances that I really loved before that did not make the cut while I'm going through the list as well. But I've learned a lot. I've learned quite a bit in the 14 years, almost 14 years, because it's almost August here. And I can't remember exactly when in August I did my first video. I can't look back, unfortunately. But yeah, it's been 14 years that you've seen content on fragrances with this channel and the previous channel. My taste has changed as well. And when I first got into collecting and talking about fragrances, it was more designer focused because I hadn't really gotten into niche quite a bit yet. Although I did have some niche offerings because I had just gotten off of a love and passion and collection of Joe Malone, because in the 90s up until like the very early 2000s, I was really heavy into really strong men's fragrances. And then Mugler Cologne came out in 2001. I was overdosing on Amen and fragrances like that. Mugler Cologne came out in 2001, and I had just joined a gym, a brand spanking new gym that I was really obsessed with. And I said this cologne or this fragrance would be perfect for during a workout and or after a shower at the gym as well. So that's kind of what got me into Joe Malone. And there's no Joe Malone on the list today, not whatsoever. This is also a strictly niche video, niche list. And so, yeah, that was one of the reasons why I kind of got into Joe Malone, because of Mugler Cologne. I still love Mugler Cologne. And yeah, Mugler Cologne's not here either. In fact, there's not a lot of citruses here, if at all. There are some freshies or lighter fragrances, but they're more of the molecular variety. And so let's get started with the list. I'll go through my history and things like that. And I'll also tell you, as I said, fragrances that didn't make the cut that might have made the cut maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and things like that. So let's get started with the first one. This is Jardins de Misfah from Nuit Nomade. And one of my favorite fragrance houses. I absolutely love it. I recently did a video on top 20, I believe. Is it top 20 or top 15 French houses post 2015? And this brand was there. And this is the brand I discovered in 2019. This came out, I think, after 2019. I bought a bottle of it from ZGO in 2021. And I've been a fan of this brand and this fragrance. And yeah, overview. The entire brand has really awesome scents. But what Jardins de Misfah is a kind of a fresh take on dates, saffron, roses, and what else is in here? Something maybe perhaps honeyed. So it's a bit sweet, it's a bit tart, it's perfect to wear in heat, and it smells fantastic. It's the fragrance that got me to enjoy and appreciate this brand. Really love the brand. In fact, their latest fragrance is in our Scent Club kit, if you haven't heard about it, Sun Bleached Extract or Extrait. They release such great fragrances. In fact, it's a man and a woman. They're not husband and wife. They're just business partners, I think, fragrance business partners. And they know how to curate fragrances. They know how to pick and choose the right perfumers to work with. And this is Jerome de Marino. And I think they've been working with him for a while. In fact, I believe Sun Bleached Extract, which is in our latest Scent Club kit, is also Jerome de Marino. But if you haven't gotten your nose on Jardins de Misfah, please do. It's one of the best fragrances. They do have an extract. I guess when I wear the extract, it's I'm always thinking it's not as airy as the original. So I kind of resort to the original because it's much thicker. And what I like about this original, it's airiness. I'm saying it's airy. It's not necessarily light lasting. It's not weak, but the extract is much thicker and heavier, and I kind of prefer the lightness of the original. That's kind of why I'm selecting this. But definitely, if I was starting a brand new collection, if I was just getting into doing videos, these are some of the fragrances. These are definitely the fragrances I would go with. So this is Jardins de Misfah from the house of Nuit Nomade. Now this next one is BLNDRGRPHY's Vanilla Mudslide. Yeah, this one, it keeps running out, although I think it's now at a point where it's not running out as fast, but the brand couldn't keep up with the demand of this fragrance. Although it's a small house, it doesn't produce fragrances as fast. That's probably one of the reasons why this fragrance wasn't able to be in stock, because ZGO is probably the only store that carries the brand. Maybe that might have changed post Scentfest, which just happened a month ago. This is a spicy take on vanilla. Super spicy. It's gourmand, but I wouldn't say this is like cookies and cake and caramel and things like that. There is a stickiness about it. There's butter note in here. There's lots of vanilla. There's almonds. There's vodka because it's inspired by a cocktail, the Mudslide. So it's called Vanilla Mudslide. To me, I also get like tobacco-ish touches. I can feel like there's something slightly similar to tobacco vanille and things like that. But it's a fantastic fragrance, really long-lasting, super duper sexy. The DNA in this is awesome. Really love wearing it. It smells great on me and also garners me compliments because that's kind of what I like about it. One of the best vanillas of last couple of years. I'm absolutely obsessed with. As you can see, I've worn so much of it. We featured this in one of our Scent Club kits early last year as well. And it's just a really, really awesome scent. I absolutely love it, and definitely something I love wearing. So that's BLNDRGRPHY's Vanilla Mudslide. It's a fantastic offering. I absolutely love Vanilla Mudslide. And speaking of tobacco vanille, I wouldn't put tobacco vanille on this list to begin with. It's a designer offering, even though it's part of the private blend. It's like a luxury collection. But that would also go on a list if I was doing this list like 10 years ago or something like that. This is a fairly new release, launched late 2024. and an awesome scent. So I gotta mention, I have to mention Tobacco Vanille because it has those kind of qualities. But the next fragrance I'm going to recommend is Tubéreuse Astrale from the house of Maison Crivelli. It has become a favorite of mine. I like, well, it's a Quintambiche creation, obviously, and it's one that actually garners me compliments. It's big, it's intense, it's creamy, it's also slightly minerally, but also very spicy. There's a light cumin touch in there, and it's a white floral creaminess. Just a really nicely made fragrance. And tuberose is very complicated for me. This is the kind of tuberose I love. It's very sexy. It's almost like taking Quintambiche's signature notes for more masculine fragrances and giving it the more unisex, maybe slight bit feminine leaning qualities with the tuberose. But to me, it's not like a super feminine tuberose fragrance. It's very unisex to me, but the intensity is awesome. The projection and sillage is really great. Not like Patchouli Magnetic, which I feel like is nuclear. This one is a bit calmer than that, but Patchouli Magnetic is so super polarizing. This one I think is more appreciated and embraced a lot more, and not polarizing like Patchouli Magnetic. But I love Patchouli Magnetic as well. That also garnered me compliments. And a little goes a long way with the Patchouli Magnetic. But this stuff is fantastic. It's very addicting smell. So Tubéreuse Astrale definitely deserves to be on this list. This is from the house of Maison Crivelli. And it's a fairly modern offering. Was it 2023 that this was launched? Or was it 2024, I think also? Yeah. So these are fairly recent offerings. We might go back to the late 2010s with some of these fragrances, and there might be a few older, lot older than some of the like late 2010s into the early 2020s, but the majority of these are very modern fragrances. Like this next fragrance goes back to 2019. I remember when this launched. This is from the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. This is Ganymede Extrait. I really consider this DNA super sexy. It's probably one of the best fragrances that has ever been created. It's minerally, it's woody, it's spicy, a little musky, slightly fruity, very sexy on skin. And it also has, it has a little bit not super dense, like unlike a Tubéreuse Astrale, because both of them are from the same perfumer. This is, it has an airiness, a more ethereal, flowing kind of airiness. It doesn't have a super dense quality, which makes it for a fragrance to be much easier to consume or wear. Consume as in to wear. I'm not thinking you're drinking this. But I really love what Quintambiche did. It's a perfumer I've known for a while. I mean, I've been a big fan of Mugler, so he was making Mugler fragrances for a while, and then I think this fragrance kind of put him on the map. And this fragrance and the brand Marc-Antoine Barrois is kind of what made the guy as popular and as famous as he is now. And he is one of the most sought after, most in demand perfumers. In fact, when I went to Givaudan to visit, I wanted to see the perfume house in Paris. They said, you can meet anybody you want, but you can't meet Quintambiche. I'm like, okay, whatever. Is he that in demand? But I think that's the fragrance that put the guy on the map. But as I was saying, like 2015, 2014, 2016, he was doing Mugler fragrances. Like I think he did Pure Tonka. He might have done a few other. I know he did Angel Muse for Mugler. So he's been around for a while. But that fragrance is what put him on the map, the Ganymede. And that fragrance is what got him to be so in demand. People want him to create fragrances for their brand. But I do find Ganymede to be amazing. I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic offering. Super awesome offering. Let me know if you don't love Ganymede. Add a comment below. Let's move on to the next fragrance. This might be a little bit older, but I had to include it here. It's one of the best fragrances I've ever put my nose on. It's super fantastic. This is from the house of Nishane. It's Ambra Calabria. It's the marriage of two, is it the seasons? Kind of, no, temperatures, I should say, more. Like it's very fresh and it's also very warm. And it's a clash, you know? It's not necessarily something you would think would work together, but it works so good. It's definitely, for me, one of the most original smells. Absolutely love it. Super love it. You've got green galbanum up top with green bergamot. It's fresh and green and juicy. And the clash of warm resins and vanilla from the base come join it and creates this like fresh side and a warm side, because the base is all warm, the top is all fresh and green, and the combo together is super intoxicating. Absolutely love it. Now, some of you might not be so into green fragrances, so maybe that's not for you, and I hear that. I think green fragrances are a bit challenging for some people, and I don't understand why. And I don't have a challenge with it myself, because my dad was growing vegetables and greens and herbs and plants and trees and fruits and flowers. And so I got to appreciate those green smells because I used to hang out with him as he's like digging and cutting and chopping and whatever in the garden. So that's kind of why I appreciate the smell of green smells. I really like stemmy smells. And this has galbanum up top. And to me, sometimes it smells of green weeds, green stems, green flowers that are not smelling like your, flowers like that are like very famous, like roses or jasmine and things like that. It's got a very green smell, and that's kind of what I like about it. And the contrast of the greenness and the citruses with that warm resinous amber vanillic thing is so fantastic. So yeah, this is a bit older. It's probably going back to like 2017. I'm not 100% sure, but this is so good. It's such a great scent. I always recommend this. It's definitely one of my favorite. It's definitely my favorite from the house of Nishane, and I always recommend this. It's a fantastic offering. I hope they never discontinue this, because I don't think this is one of their more popular ones. They made the X collection and this never got the X treatment, but please try it. Please get it. Enjoy it. It's a fantastic offering. Super awesome offering. For me, I love it. So this goes back to 2019, and this is the only one fragrance that's sort of in this kind of a ballpark. We're going to the house of Mizensir. This is For Your Love. And notice, watching this video, you're not going to find Baccarat Rouge on here. In fact, I don't have a Maison Francis Crick Gem fragrance on the list. I was going to put Absolute Pour Le Soir, but it's a limited edition. It's not as easy to get. And plus, it was from 2009. It was discontinued and brought back. So I left that off, but I recommend that one quite a bit. But you're not going to see Baccarat Rouge here. Baccarat Rouge 540. I love this one, though. It's kind of sort of like that. It's so addicting, the smell. I started wearing this in very hot, warm temperatures, and I love the projection. And for me, it's musky, it's ambery, it's earthy patchouli, plus it's fruity. And I love the combination together. Great projection, super sexy, lots of like ambergris, like musks in here, but more like the synthetic variety. It's, I think it's Cachalox. Is it Cachalox? No, this is a Firmenich perfumer. It's Alberto Moria's. So I think he's using a different, like, it's almost like ambroxan, but it's the combination of ambroxan and another musk, from what I remember, plus the raspberry, the patchouli, and the benzoin that's in here. So it creates an ambery, musky, fruity, earthy combo. That's to die for, delicious. Really, really awesome. And I almost put Baccarat Rouge on this list. I probably could have, because I didn't start appreciating Baccarat Rouge until like 2018, 2019. Took me a while because I hated that stuff when I first smelled it. It grew on me. It got addicting. I still love the smell, but there's so much love for it and so much hate for it right now. I think this one is definitely something I appreciate more. And they added the fruitiness of the raspberry in this to give it that, like, almost like ease. Like there's an ease of wear because the fruitiness adds this like lightness, a bit more playfulness to a musky, earthy, amber focused fragrance. So good. If you haven't tried it, please do. For Your Love is one of the best. Absolutely love it. Speaking of raspberry, Portrait of a Lady has a raspberry note that's very famous in that fragrance. It might have another fruity note in there as well. But I left off Portrait of a Lady. In fact, there's no Frederic Malle on this list. Sadly, there isn't. I've spoken quite a bit about Portrait of a Lady and Musk Ravageur. Those are some of my favorite offerings of all time. But I left off Frederic Malle from the list because it's part of Estee Lauder. And Portrait of a Lady is not what it used to be, but I still love that DNA. I absolutely love it, but it's an older fragrance. I discovered it in 2012, so I've spoken so much about it. If you want to find out more about Portrait of a Lady or any Frederic Malle fragrances, there's a ton of videos on the channel. Please go research. You can search the channel and watch those videos. In fact, there's a whole deep dive video up until the fragrance Acne Studios. I don't have the latest fragrance from Frederic Malle either. Probably need to get that very soon because I enjoyed it. It's an Annick Menardo creation. First time Annick Menardo did a fragrance for Frederic Malle. But it's an Immortelle focused fragrance, which is, I think, a pretty polarizing note for a lot of people. I do enjoy that note, though. But let's move on to the next fragrance. It's Filthy Musk from Born to Stand Out. Yeah, this is my favorite from the house. I love the dirty animalic muskiness, plus all the sweet, fruity, lightly booziness mixed together. And a fragrance that we featured in one of our Scent Club kits, by the way. But it's dirty, it's sweet, it's animalic, it's super strong. So this might be a bit challenging for some people, but I absolutely love it. There's a fragrance from Serge Lutens called Musk's Kubla Khan. I think that one on my skin, sometimes if it's warmer, it's way overwhelming. And then this can be overwhelming, I think. For me, the sweetness kind of cuts it. So it's quite animalic, though. When you strip away the sweetness that this has, I think this fragrance can become pretty off-putting. And I think it's the sweetness and fruitiness and that light booziness that I mentioned is what's keeping it from going in that direction. But to me, it's awesome. But when you smell it, you are smelling both dirty and clean at the same time. And when I'm talking about clean, it's not a clean fragrance at all. I don't consider sweet, overly sweet fragrances clean, but the opposite of dirty, the other notes are clean to me because there's a lot of animalic notes in this. And I think there's a note called scatol in here. And there's probably synthetic civet type notes in here as well. But very long lasting, super sweet against the super animalic notes, and I think it's a nice balance. They've balanced it out perfectly. It's really nice. It's if you like Sado Naso from Naso Mato, you would enjoy that. Maybe it's a bit too much because even though Sado Naso is an extrait de parfum, for me, when you compare it to Filthy Musk is strong, overwhelming, intense. Sado Naso is an extrait, and it's a bit reserved next to Filthy Musk. And Filthy Musk is an eau de parfum, and it's acting more like an eau de, not an eau de, but extrait de parfum. Anyway, Filthy Musk is awesome. Check it out if you haven't yet. We did have that in a Scent Club kit, but we don't. It's gone no longer. We've sold out. Next, we're going to the house of Sospiro. This is Dolce Melodia. So I ended up with two Sospiro fragrances on this list. I'm surprised, but this was my very first Sospiro love. And it's also, once again, like Born to Stand Out. It's an eau de parfum, but it's so big and beefy. It's intense. And this fragrance is amber, It's sweet, it's powdery, it's fruits, it's flowers, and just really the kind of fragrance I love. It's really bright, and the color is what I smell. So I feel like the fruits and the flowers and the amber that's in there, and the spices and also the vanillic notes are just creating a very bright kind of an intensity. So maybe slight bit solar leaning, but not quite. It is definitely very powdery as well. But the fruits are really juicy and ripe. The flowers are just beautiful and lightly creamy. And of course, the powdery effect. There's a slight nuttiness in there, nondescript nuttiness. And I think it's like a note like heliotrope or maybe something similar to that that's creating that effect. But again, it's really, really intense, really lovely fragrance. I love it. And this is Sospiro after Xerjoff and Sospiro separated. So up until, well, I think the brand was with Xerjoff until 2019. Then they separated, and I didn't discover the brand until like 2022, 2023, the rebirth of the brand. And this came out in 23, I believe, this Dolce Melodia. It's just super. It's an awesome scent. Love it. Love it to death. And I still love it and wear it all the time because it's just nice and intense and loud and enjoyable to wear. So let's move on to Dolce next. This is Tonka Hysteria. Absolutely fantastic Jordi Fernandez creation. You know, I have to be honest, a lot of his fragrances I'm not really clicking with, but this one I really clicked with. And I got to sample this as the fragrance was being composed, not via the perfumer from the brand, but I said, you guys are going to have a hit on your hands when I smelled it. And I was like, right. Because they launched it with two other fragrances, which are nice. But for me, this is the winner. It's the one. And for me, for the first time, although, no, I think I've experienced it before. I got a bit of a Coca-Cola effect today as I was smelling the strip from far away from my nose. And I think resins sometimes do that, most importantly, myrrh. But this is very black peppery, spicy, syrupy, ambery, resinous, and a little bit of that fizzy Coca-Cola effect. But this is a great house. I discovered in 22. 22, we started traveling again after, the world was shut down. I wasn't traveling all throughout 2020, 21, and until the June 22 when Essence was back, and I traveled to Essence in June of 22. And after Essence was over, I was walking in Milan, and I went to Campo Marzio, and I saw the brand I think from the window. So I walked in and explored the entire house. At the time, they hadn't launched their extracts yet, and all of the fragrances were in the clear bottles. I believe one or two of their, it's a resurrected house, by the way, if you guys didn't know. So one or two of their past fragrances was brought back. Everything else was new. I was just smelling everything and enjoying. 2 years later, they launched the extracts, 3 extracts. Now they have like 6 extracts, I think. And then there's a new one, vanilla, is it called Vanilla Affair? Which I've mentioned in a video that's coming soon. It's created by Nathalie Lorson. But this one is just fantastic. I absolutely love this. This is so super good. I love its intensity. And yeah, I think I'm more of a fan of Contambich over Jordi Fernandez. But I really love this creation of his. There's a few others I like. I think he did a fragrance for Ex Nihilo called The Hedonist. There's Blue Talisman, which I'm still trying to get a bottle of the extract. But this is awesome. So good. So good. So that's Tonka Hysteria from Dolce. All right, up next, this is Rogue Perfumery's Mousse Illuminée. You guys know this one? This was also a discovery in 2019, and I've been a fan of it since then. I just love the way this fragrance smells. So green and mossy. And I've got two Chypre style. Well, Mousse Illuminé for me, I feel like is more of a fougere with Chypre qualities because of all that mossiness in there. It's interesting also, this is quite boozy for me, green boozy, almost like absinthe, like booziness. But a lot of folks say something like Irish Spring soap. Well, maybe the idea, not so much the smell. But wow, it's so good. It's so good. It's green, it's mossy, it's damp, it's boozy, it's a bit floral, it's spicy, lightly ambery and woody. It is just fantastic. I love this. It's one of the best creations ever. It's also a bit vintage-esque or classic smelling, which I quite like. For this, it's just, I love classic fragrances. And so it takes me back. It takes me back to when I was younger smelling fragrances. But wow. I also really enjoy green fragrances. I love the idea of moss and oak moss in fragrances. So it's a given that I would enjoy this. I have a huge collection of vintage fragrances, classic fragrances, and yeah, those fragrances are, some of the classic fragrances are just awesome. And the fact that this is modern, and what happens with classic fragrances is all fragrances are getting reformulated all the time. And a fragrance that launched in the 80s, in the early 80s, if you buy if it's still in production, it's not discontinued, and you bought the current version of it, is going to smell night and day difference between the original formulation and the classic. Sure, it might still smell great. Like Drakkar Noir is one of my all-time favorite fragrances. I wore it in the mid-80s, and I really, really love it. But what I was wearing back then and what they're selling now is night and day difference. Sure, it still smells great, but it's lost its intensity and oomph. But I still love it. It reminds me of, when I was in my teens wearing Drakkar Noir. So that's what I like about this one. This is a modern fragrance that is sort of classic and vintage, but since it's still in production, it's fairly new. And plus, it's also an indie. It's not a big conglomerate that owns the brand that's going to be doing all kinds of like cost cutting and the cheapening, and then of course following regulations, and then they're, taking out a note because it's no longer allowed, and then they're going to substitute it with something else. And that's the kind of stuff that starts making fragrances not smell like they used to. So Drakkar Noir, for example, what's the Kouros from YSL? I mean, that came out in the early 80s. So it's still in production. Not widely distributed, but it's still in production. But, it's night and day difference. Like, I mean, that's what happens. For me also, Polo Green, Antaeus. Polo Green, it's good. For me, when you first spray it, it's amazing the way it smells. The dry down, I don't care for. But Antaeus, for me, it smells so cheap and almost like plastic resins and leather kind of. It's gotten pretty bad. But that's what I like about this. But it's a fantastic fragrance. If you haven't tried this, please do. I absolutely love it. It's one of the best. And we've got something sort of similar in here as well. One of my all-time favorites. And this is an older offering. Plus, it's also part of our latest Scent Club kit. This is Orza Elegant's Chypre Mousse. Another Chypre. Well, the previous fragrance, Mousse Illuminé, is more of a fougere. But for me, it does remind me of a Chypre a little bit. This is more of a Chypre style. It's also very earthy, a little mushroomy, very green. It's a slight bit petrichor, forest floor, vegetables, aromatics, spices, herbs, all mixed together. It's so good. So good. So this fragrance was originally launched in the early 1900s. Then it was brought back in 2013. I think 1914 was the original launch, brought back. But I believe the brand had folded and purchased by a couple of people, and then they've been producing the fragrance since the early 2010s. And grateful that this fragrance is in one of my Scent Club kits. It's so damn good. Really, really awesome fragrance. So you can smell the mossy notes in both, and they're also, like I said, Mousse Illumine is kind of chypre. It's more of a fougere chypre. I don't know. I get the styling there, but they go in different directions for sure. Anyway, that is chypre mousse. Been a big fan of that for a while. This is one of the older fragrances here. The rest of them are fairly new. Well, there's a few older fragrances coming up too, but we're going to talk about the next one next. This is from the house of Xerjoff. This is Louis 15, 1722. So this is a fougere, but so modern. When you smell it, it's very lightly fizzy. It's a champagne collaboration. In fact, last year they launched the women's version with more of like a pink champagne. This is more like, regular champagne, sparkling wine. But it's also a fougere. So there's light sparkles, there's lavender, there's lots of creamy undertones and woods in the base. So it smells very expensive to me. And me, I'm a big fan of fougères. I look, because I grew up with my dad who wore a lot of fougères. Then I was wearing them in the early 80s, like Drakkar Noir and things like that. So I've always been a fan of fougères. I love lavender in fragrances, and this also has the lavender, but I feel like if the champagne is very minimal, you've got a little bit more lavender in here, but the lavender just doesn't overwhelm. Like, it's not an overwhelming lavender. But to me, it's so good, the combination. Very, very gentlemanly, classy, super elegant, and luxury. Like, it smells expensive. This is one of the best smelling fragrances to me. I sampled this at Neiman's, and I said, I gotta have it. It's so good. It is amazing. But it is also very expensive. So if you... it smells expensive for me. It smells expensive. It also is expensive. It's just the way they did it. They took the fougere into a very modern direction. Super modern, I think, with the light classic touches in there. Fantastic. Let me know if you guys are a fan of this. It's Louis 15, 1722. All right, the next fragrance is a classic, and I've rediscovered it recently. Within the last 2 years, I rediscovered it. It's from the house of Serge Lutens, and I gotta include this house in here because their fragrances are some of the best fragrances, the older ones. Sadly, also, this collection is no longer these like tall, thin bottles. Anything that was in these tall, thin black bottles are now in bell jars. So this is going to be tough to find, but I highly recommend you find it. This is super, super fantastic. It's a tobacco, but what I like about this tobacco, it's slightly honeyed. It's not a smoky tobacco. It's a leafy, musky tobacco. Oh man, it is so super sexy. Super, super sexy. What I love about it is like there's an underlying funk in there, and the tobacco leaves are a bit musty, old and dry. There's honey touches, but the honey doesn't overwhelm. It doesn't take over. It's not about the honey, but the honey balances out everything else in here. But, oh man, it's good. It's good. I almost put Fia Naigi in here, and I've spoken a lot about that brand. Again, Serge Lutens is one of my favorite brands. It's an awesome house. I do have a deep dive video on the house, and you can go catch that video. But this is phenomenal, this stuff. I love that musky touch in there. So musk and honey are kind of like you can have, I believe like a lot of musks have a honeyed note in there. And honey comes off musky. And in fact, that might be what's causing that musk, the fact that this is honeyed. But it's a phenomenal scent. It's an awesome house. Sadly, I mean, I don't understand Serge Lutens does moving around a lot, because when I first got this fragrance, I had it in a bell jar. It's now back in the bell jar. Maybe that's where it belongs. But this, Fianai, Serge Noir, I have a few others, Musk Kubla Khan, they're all in bell jars now, and not as easy to get, but I believe Serge Lutens doesn't have distribution in the States, but they do ship to the States. So you can't always order if you can't find these at the discounters. And the bell jars you're never going to find at the discounters, because usually the way the fragrances end up at discounters is because distributors have distribution, and then they offload their excess product. That's how that's how the discounters get fragrances. And so because Serge Lutens doesn't distribute their bell jars, that's why it's very rarely found. I mean, you find the regular fragrances in the regular bottles from Serge Lutens at the discounters all the time, but these were pretty rare, and the bell jars totally rare. I don't think I've ever seen the bell jars at the discounters. Anyway, next up, going to the House of Caron, a newer Caron that I discovered earlier this decade, around 22, on that first trip to Europe. This is Tabac Exquis from the House of Caron. Great job here. I think this is tobacco and chocolate. I mean, it might have a little bit of vanillic notes. I know there's some ambery notes. But I'm anticipating the launch of Tobacco Chocolat from Tom Ford. And when I did my video announcing that fragrance and also the Tobacco Vanille Parfum, I referenced this fragrance as maybe something that they saw and tried to emulate, or maybe they didn't do that. I don't know. I don't want to spread rumors, but the idea of this is what I'm thinking the idea of Tobacco Chocolat is going to be. This is boozy a little bit, but it's mostly dry tobacco, not smoky, and lots of chocolate and also cocoa or cacao. So it's gourmand, but it's got the tobacco. It's just fantastic. That my only complaint about a lot of the fragrances in these bottles, they're not super loud. So maybe they could make a extract of this, but just spray more, because it's just a great smell. Really awesome smell. I actually went through a 50 ml bottle, wore that whole thing. I kept using it up. Now I have my 100 ml bottle, and I've used a little bit, but I have access to so many fragrances. I could keep wearing it, but I gotta try other fragrances. But that stuff is amazing. It is so amazing. It's one of the best. Recently, I also bought their fragrance called Atma at their little shop in Printemps in Paris. And Atma is also great, but also my complaint is similar to this. It's just not a loud fragrance. I feel like it needs some oomph, like some of these fragrances are very oomphy that I like, but sometimes I just wish they were a little stronger. But I think they're done the way that I think they could do. If they increase the potency on some of these, I think the smells change also. So that's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with sometimes. So that is Caron's Tabac Exquis. I'm looking forward to Tobacco Chocolat from the House of Tom Ford. I'm really anticipating to see what they've done with it. I don't think it's similar. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but this is what I've been falling back on. If you're thinking of chocolate and tobacco together, make sure, if you like the idea of chocolate and tobacco, definitely check out Caron's Tabac Exquis. It's fantastic. But next, we're going to something super minimalistic. We are going to DS and Durga's I Don't Know What. I Don't Know What. I do know a lot about this one. I know that I didn't really love it at first. I was like complaining how another minimalistic fragrance, how many more do we need? But I'm obsessed with those kind of fragrances now. Absolutely love them, because I love my super intense fragrances, but something about minimalistic musky fragrances that I'm totally addicted to. This is super sexy also. It's got a lot of like molecular notes, like There's ambroxan here. There's ISOE Super. There's vetiver acetate, which is more like vetiver. If you don't know ambroxan, this is the ambergris replication in synthetic form. ISOE Super is a cedarwood sandalwood. Civetone is a recreation of a synthetic civet. And I think there's a few other notes. There's some fresh notes and non-molecular notes in here as well. I think there might be bergamot. This is DS and Durga's answer to another 13. And I almost put another 13 here as well. I've got one more minimalistic fragrance coming up. But I love this. This is also considered a primer. I'm sorry, not a primer, an enhancer. Fragrance enhancer. What does that mean? Fragrance enhancer, you would enhance a fragrance. I would say you figure out a way to play mixologist with this and another fragrance, and you kind of like enhance the smell somehow with whatever is in here, which I already mentioned, and whatever is in the other fragrance. It doesn't necessarily have to be just DS and Durga fragrances, but also wear the thing on itself, by itself, minimalistically. And the story always I'd mention is I first sampled it at the Barney's here the last year it was in existence in 2019. It was early 2019 and I didn't think twice about it because I think it was cool weather. It didn't really come through. But not until I went to Lucky Scent in DTLA, LA area, and I tried this there in the heat, is when it just totally shined. And I'm like, I got to have a bottle of that. It's so good. But wear it on its own. It might take you some time for the smell to come through also. It's quite minimal. It's quite hardly there. But I'm smelling it so strong today. Anyway, I don't know what is fantastic. One of the best. And this is a fragrance I have to have if I'm building a collection now. And I didn't have a collection. It's very, very important for me to have at least a few musky, minimalistic, molecular fragrances. So next we're going to the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. This is Vanille Supermassive. So I had discovered the brand by buying a bottle of Color Premier, I think that's how you say it, at Javoy, probably around 22. And Color Premier is more like a aldehydic musky fragrance, sort of like Acne Studios, but probably a bit lighter, maybe a bit more like Blanche from Byredo. But not until this fragrance is when I got obsessed with this brand. Vanille Supermassive is a very masculine take on vanilla. It's super woody and spicy and also musky. There is a caramel note in this. It's also vanilla because it's called Vanille Supermassive, but it's not gourmand whatsoever. It's just woods, spices. There's a like musky notes in here, and I think there's this pine note that gives it this kind of foresty effect. It is just really, really great. Super, super awesome. Very long lasting, but once again, it's an extract. It's not like super beast mode, but really, really fantastic fragrance. And I love the DNA of the house. The brand works with Flair perfumers, and also BLNDRGRPHY's Vanilla Mudslide is a Flair perfumer fragrance. Filthy Musk is also a Flair perfumer fragrance. So I'm really into that DNA that they have at this perfume house. It's an indie perfume house, not big like Givaudan or IFF or Firmenich. Just very independent and woman-owned, I think. Woman-owned, yeah. But yeah, Vanille Supermassive, fantastic offering. Check it out if you don't know it. I'm sure you know because I speak about it quite a bit. Definitely important to have in a new collection if you're building. It's a great one. And definitely masculine leaning for me. All right, next going to the house of Rain de Saba. It's Rain Maqueda. Oh God, awesome scent. This is created by Anne Filippo, and I think this is one of the best fragrances she's ever created. Now, I almost put Synthetic Nature in the mix, but I didn't want to have two fragrances by her in the mix. I probably do not have two fragrances by the same perfumer in this. But yeah, Quinton Biche is in here twice. But this is musky, powdery, very white floral, clean, and long-lasting, and very, very sexy. There's a little bit of vanilla in here that sweetens it up, but it's also very powdery. Just super awesome fragrance. I really, really love the way this smells on me. And it's perfect in warm weather. Really shines in warm weather. To me, there's a little bit of a vanilla ice cream effect happening. I think there's a orange blossom note in here. There's like white floral notes, so it's quite creamy. I think she does good work. There's another fragrance she did for Nishane called Tempfluo that's kind of also similar. I kind of prefer this more than that, but both fragrances get me compliments, Tempfluo and this. There's something a little different from, I mean, I feel like she probably created it around the same time because they do have similarities, but they are different. But this stuff is amazing. This is also kind of lightly, very, very lightly. I mentioned orange blossom, and there's the vanilla. It's got a very faint, super faint hint at the style of mixing vanillic notes with orange blossom. But there's a lot more happening, so it's not like overwhelming. But if you really, really focus on this, you can really smell like there is that under there. Like the reminder of Love Don't Be Shy or fragrances similar to that you can pick up underneath all of the notes that are on top of it. So this is Rain Makeda from the House of Rain de Saba. Super awesome scent. If you don't know it, please check it out. I highly recommend that one. And we're going back to another Flair perfumer, but this is a different perfumer, not any of the perfumers that I've spoken about from that perfume house already. So yeah, we've gone through 3 different perfumers, and this is the 4th from the same perfume house of Flair. This is Porthole from Lumari, and this is a salty marine style fragrance without using marine notes, but using salt and pineapple. There's musky notes here. There's also caramel, so it's sweet. It's juicy, sweet tart, I would say. And salt kind of cuts through that sweetness. It's very delicious. It's kind of like summer in a bottle. It's blue. It's not a blue fragrance to me. Maybe the salt kind of takes it into that kind of a category, but it's not quite blue. It's just like fruity, fun, playful, tropical-ish. Just a really awesome scent, I think. Prior to this launching in 2022, this is another 22 fragrance, I think. Yeah. Prior to this launching, my favorite from the brand was always Almeria. Now, the new fragrance from the house is Radanfor. It's a bit competing with this, but I still think this is awesome. And I'm not the biggest fan of super fruity fragrances. I just think the salt and the pineapple together are awesome. Let me know if you guys are familiar with this. If you came to Scentfest, you would have met the brand. They brought that fragrance. And again, highly recommend that one. It's super awesome. It's pineapple, and it's a favorite fruit of mine. Pineapple, cherries, and watermelons, and apples. Those are my 4 favorite fruits. And of course, tomatoes as well. I love tomatoes, but I don't really categorize them as fruit. You know what I mean? Like sweet fruit. But I just love tomatoes too. Anyway, avocados too. Now you know all everything I'm eating. So, okay, next up, going to the house of Kayali. This is Musk 12. So, you know, Kayali is known for super gourmand fragrances, but what I really love from the brand are the 2 Santal fragrances from the wedding collection, and most importantly, this musk. It's super powdery, Very clean, lightly sweet vanillic musk. And on me, it smells amazing. I love that about it. Musk 12. Yep, Musk 12. So there's something very comforting about this because it's powdery, it's musky, it's creamy, it's slightly sweet. When you put it on, it's nicely enveloping and it just relaxes you, soothes you. Just imagine hanging out in front of next to a fireplace, maybe reading, maybe just being cozy at home. That's what I get from it. It's not super sweet like their other fragrances, but there is sweetness there. Just becomes a very nice like part of your skin when you put it on, and you get whiffs of it. It's close to your skin. It's not going to be projecting super loudly. It's just like kind of becomes you, and you smell fantastic, musky, cuddly, sweet, and powdery. It's just really, really awesome scent. For me, it's one of the best from the house. I absolutely love it. When I wear it, I feel very comforted, like relaxed. It's super soothing. It's also a great bed scent. It just kind of like calms you. But I like the way the fragrance was created with just the right amount of powder, just the right amount of musk, some sweetness. Really awesome. Anyway, that's Kayali's Musk 12. If you guys don't know that one, please check it out. Let me know. I'm a big fan of musk, and I also like, not overly animalic, but I like animalic musks, and I also love clean musks. I also love powdery musks, some sweet musks. Just, I love musks. It's a top 10 note. Really, really love musky notes. Let me know if you guys love musks. Do you like it animalic? Do you like it clean? Do you like it powdery? Do you like it woody? Add a comment below. But let's move on to Sospiro once again. And I had a hard time with this one. I almost didn't pick this one, and I picked Tigar, but I decided to go with Vibrato because Vibrato for me is more potent. I just love its intensity, and it reminds me of Tigar, and so I went with this. This is also a bit more zingy. It's a bit more beefy. It's also a bit more juicy compared to how dry Tigar is. So this stuff is just long-lasting, although not as long-lasting as Dolce Melodia, which is on this list, but quite long-lasting and potent. Even though it's an eau de parfum, it's not a parfum concentration. It's got great longevity. So it's a really, really awesome scent. And I love the combo of the grapefruit, the zinginess of it, of the grapefruit. There is a gingery touch in this as well. It's other citruses come in. It's fresh, but it's not a weak fresh. It's a potent fresh. And sometimes you want something a lot more potent than some of the light, juicy citruses. And this is the kind of fragrance you would pull for. It is fantastic, guys. If you don't know Vibrato, I'm sure you know Vibrato. Which do you prefer, Vibrato or Tigar? Let me know. Add a comment below. Let's move on to the House of Trudon. And I just released a video about this fragrance. This is 45 degrees. Yeah, this is a super recent launch. And it's so fantastic. Really, really awesome. To me, this is the fragrance that I started noticing the texture. Well, I shouldn't say this. There's a fragrance before this. But before that, I was noticing textures of fragrances that reminded me of that creamy shampoo experience. So there was one of the fragrances, or maybe two of the fragrances. And then this fragrance came on board, gave me that texture again. There's a texture and the smell combined, because this is super creamy. But just imagine lathering that shampoo, or a shampoo in your hands before it starts becoming bubbly, how soft it feels. That's how soft this fragrance and a few other fragrances that remind me of shampoo feel. So, but what is this all about? It has 3 varieties of vanilla. It's got benzoin. It's got, what else does it have? I'm forgetting. It's got a few other notes. I think, no, this one doesn't have a fruity note. I think it's Flori Nebula that has the fruity note. But honey, it has the honey note in here. And there might be a citrus in here as well for a light freshness. But it's the honey, the vanillas, the 3 varieties of vanilla, the benzoin. So it creates this kind of warm, gooey, sweet, vanillic, resinous amber thing that's super, super amazing. It's created by Jan Vaznier of Givaudan. So this is a Givaudan creation. But it doesn't smell anything like Quinton Biche's creations. I love it. The honey, well, when you think of honey and 3 varieties of vanilla plus benzoin, which is a vanillic resin, you're thinking this is going to be super, super sweet. It's not. It's not. I mean, it is sweet. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like tooth rotting sweet. The other thing is I've always mentioned bubblegum. There's a bubblegumminess, and it wasn't necessarily smell. It's the texture, again, kind of like chewy. The shampoo bubblegum kind of texture is what is giving me those kind of reminders. But this is fantastic. If you haven't watched my video, go catch that video. I talk a lot about this, and I also talk about their newest fragrance called Carmen, which I mentioned in the video, is more like what I think the Trudon fragrances would smell like, because it kind of is more in line with their candles. But awesome scent. This, between the 3 in the red bottles, this is definitely tops for me, and definitely deserves to be on this list because it's fantastic. Really, really awesome. Anyway, that's Trudon 45 degrees. And I've been mentioning I want to do a video on this perfumer's fragrances. Let me know if you guys are up for a video on Jan Vaznier's fragrances, because I don't think anybody's done that. And the more I wear fragrances from that perfumer, the more I like them. And again, I mentioned in the video yesterday, there's Jordi Fernandez that's or maybe it's today, I'm drawing a blank, or maybe it's yesterday. I can't remember. But there's perfumers at Givaudan that are very famous, like Quinton Biche, which is the most sought after perfumer, and then Jordi Fernandez. But Jan Vaznier's been around a lot longer, I think, and he doesn't have the hype, but I think he does some amazing fragrances. So let's hype him up. All right, this has also got to be on this list, even though I discovered this when I first got in. Like in 2012 is when I discovered this. I got to keep it in this because it's one of my favorite fragrances. In fact, this brand is like one of my favorite brands. It's Escentric Molecules, Molecule 1. I almost went with Molecule 1 plus Patchouli, but I went with the original because it's an kind of an overview. It's a given that I'm going to have this, and then the Patchouli. But what is this all about? It's ISOE Super. It's a molecule that smells like woods. It's featured a lot in fragrances as a base note. It's musky, it's woody, it's creamy, it's a little spicy and minimalistic. Wear it on its own minimalistically. I know so many people that wear it. Use it as a primer, enhancer, booster. Add vanilla to it. Add citruses to it. Lay it down, spritz it on, let it dry, spray something on top of it. It will boost your fragrance a little bit. It'll also change the smell a little bit, because a lot of times people say, I can't smell this fragrance. It takes a while for it to kind of like for your nose to start familiarizing with it, and then you'll smell it. Because I can smell this. But when I first got my bottle, and it was some decants a friend sent, a fragrance community friend sent way back in 2012, and I'm like, this doesn't smell like anything. I moved on to the next one, and the friend said, make sure you try again. I'm like, okay. And so if you guys are having issues with Escentric Molecules, Molecule 1, don't give up, please. You're missing out, because it is an amazing smell, even though it's super, super minimalistic. Anyway, that's Escentric Molecules, Molecule 1. Got to have that in a collection. It's important for me. All right, and next we're going to the house of Boadicea the Victorious Harmonious, and I just did a video on this as a awesome alternative to Harmonious, to DHP, Dior Homme Parfum 2014 and 2020. Yes, I love this DNA. It's super sexy. Iris, powdery, leather, rose, creamy. It's just delicious. So even though Dior Homme Parfum is not a niche, this is a niche list. This is this Harmonious is a niche house. It's Boadicea de Victoria's. I think one of the best fragrances that I've ever put my nose on is Dior Homme Parfum, the 2014 edition, then the 2020 edition. I don't know why they did the size change difference, but they did. They did it, but some people say there's no difference, and then sometimes I get comments, oh, it's the same formula. Well, my nose picks up slight differences. Maybe, I don't know, what's the difference? The formula could be the same because then the ingredients might be different. I don't know, but I do get a difference between the 2014 and the 2020. Not super different, but minute differences. And so it's one of the best fragrances ever created. And then Dior pulls that craziness and reformulates the fragrance and launches it as something completely different. Crazy. But this is a niche list. And so I can't feature that if I ever do a designer list, but I can feature that as its alternative here in a niche list. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, this is, to me, this is also, Boadicea de Victoria's fragrances do seem kind of like what I was talking about with Born to Stand Out and Sospiro. They're eau de parfum, but they do have a lot more life to them than your other typical eau de parfums. So what I like about it is pretty potent, and I feel like it acts as potent as Dior Homme Parfum, whereas Dior Homme Parfum is a parfum. This is an eau de parfum, and for me, I get the longevity of Dior Homme Parfum with Harmonious as well. But what I like about this is the leathery, lipsticky, powdery thing. It's super intoxicating, and Dior Homme Parfum is what really got me to enjoy Iris and fragrances. Becoming obsessed with Iris. Anyway, that is Harmonious from the house of Boadicea de Victoria's. All right, we've got 2 more fragrances left. And then after the outro, I've got 2 bonus options. So this is Vanilla Tahiti. I know this is a bit polarizing, but I think it's one of the most intoxicating vanillas ever. And from what I hear, real vanilla is a bit leathery and animalic. So, my God, this is so good. This is, I think I'm noticing what people complain about this. It might be a bit pissy, but it's vanilla mixed with white flowers, and I think that those white flowers are creating a slight animalic effect, because white flowers can be a bit animalic. They could be very indolic. And I think this is Champaca, Magnolia, and Ylang Ylang. But there's a booziness about the vanilla. It's super creamy, musky animalic, and as I was saying, it's a bit pissy. But wow. There's a boozy layer, a slight chocolatey layer to the vanilla, also a little caramelly, butterscotchy layer to it as well. So good. Also, big fan of Magnolia and fragrances, and I think Champaca and Magnolia are sort of related, right? And so I think it's to me, it smells like magnolias baking under the sun, where their fragrance just amplifies. And I'm getting a little bit of that, but maybe it's just a combination of the Champaca, Magnolia, and Ylang Ylang that's creating that slight animalic effect. But it's awesome. It's really awesome. This is not the vanilla part is gourmand, but the rest of it is not. I like its potency as well. Really intense. It's super fantastic. I love it. Can you tell I'm really into this fragrance? I love wearing that. All right, last but not least, I wanted to include Baby Cat in this list. I didn't. So I'm going right to Rosendo Mateu number 5 as a fragrance that I have to have in the list, because it's vanilla once again, but it's also kind of smoky, spicy, a a little leathery. So it's a dark take on vanilla. You know, I love vanilla. Big fan of vanilla. And I kind of like the spicy takes on vanilla. Like we did this vanilla mudslide. We did this vanille supermassive. Did we have any other vanilla? Don't think we had any other vanilla. But this is awesome. I love this. It reminds me of Baby Cat and also Vanagloria and Vanilla Barca from Amouage. But this is the original. And then also we have the new version of that. It's called Elixir. It is much more potent. Whew, intense. But darker, more leather. Also saffron. Saffron is it's just like major in both of them, but it's even more amplified here. And saffron's creating that leathery effect to me. I mean, they might even have actual leather notes in here or an accord of some kind, but there's a lot of saffron. And you can kind of notice saffron to me acts a bit like steel wool pad, like that effect, like you're putting a steel wool pad to your nose. And so I get that kind of metallic sharpness, but more like the steel wool pad. You know how it feels in your hand, and you imagine touching it to your nose. So I get that with the saffron note, and there's quite a bit of it here. And I believe in Vanagloria and Baby Cat, and also Vanilla Barca, you get that same kind of an effect. But it's fantastic. Both of these are great. And I'm ending the list with this fragrance, number 5 from Rosendo Mateu, and the Elixir. So yeah, that's it, guys. 25 fragrances that I would make sure to have if I was starting my collection all over, and if I was starting now. What are your 25? Or maybe give me your 10. Let me know. Add a comment below, but let me know your thoughts on these fragrances I selected today. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on in the community here. 2012 is when I got on, and it was a completely different fragrance world back then. Niche was super niche back then, and I think the world of fragrances has kind of blended together big time, because now a lot of fragrances are smelling the same, from a niche house to a designer. Have you guys noticed that? Back then, it wasn't like that. For me, also back then, houses like L'Artisan, Penhaligon's were releasing super true niche fragrances. And L'Artisan, man, they had such amazing fragrances back then. Their fragrances are kind of gotten a little kind of, what's the word? Boring? Yeah, so niche is just completely not niche anymore, I think. Because if I have a niche fragrance that's not a designer, that's what the difference is. A non-designer is what I should say, not niche. So non-designer versus designer. If I can have a fragrance from a designer and a non-designer smell like the same fragrance, there is no more niche anymore. But you guys let me know. It was a different world when I first started. 2012 was totally different. And the fragrance world has become huge also. I think post-COVID, since people got to experience fragrances at home, they were ordering samples and decants and bottles. This world has completely exploded. That's why we have shows like Scentfest, by the way. If you guys didn't come this year, please come next year. We are planning next year's Scentfest. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on these fragrances, and add a comment down below. Interact with the video by adding a comment, like the video, share it, and then please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos and any other announcements. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. All right, I've got 2 more bonus fragrances, and I didn't want to feature these 2 in the main list, but these are 2 fragrances that I worked on, and I'm going to mention them here. that I would have. And most of you will not have a fragrance that you've worked on. That's why I kind of left these off. But I do want to recommend them as bonus options. First of all, it's Juicebox 54. So Juicebox 54 is a fragrance I collaborated on with the brand Juicebox and Julienne Rasconet Perfumer. I absolutely love this fragrance. It's very boozy. It's very patchouli forward. It's also vanillic and chocolatey. And, you know, you've got rum, pina colada. There's a little saffron. There's davana, cardamom. I mentioned chocolate. There's tobacco and sandalwood. Those are the notes in here. But super fantastic, chocolatey, earthy patchouli, and super delicious. So I just can't stop wearing this. It's awesome. This is definitely one of my most worn fragrances of the last 2.5 years. And addicting fragrance and great fragrance turnout from Julienne Rasconet. And I don't think he has any fragrances like this. I've never seen a fragrance like that he's done. So thankfully, we created something that's truly original from his repertoire of fragrances. So that's Juicebox 54. And then I want to also mention my latest collaboration, which is called Twin Towns Soma Panorama from Angelo's Creations Olfactives. So we did this, we started this before 54. Juicebox 54 started in April 2024. We started this in March 2024. But it just finished. This is a collaboration between our two cities, San Francisco and Thessaloniki. If you guys don't know Angelo's Creations Olfactives, he's a artisanal indie perfumer from Greece, the city of Thessaloniki. And he's been a friend of mine for over 10 years. And realized that we had sister cities. His city and San Francisco are sister cities. So I told him, let's create a fragrance, collaborate together on a fragrance. And the collaboration is the inspiration of our two cities. So this starts off with citrusy touches up top. There's grapefruit and petitgrain, but you also have you also have cannabis. So it's a bit green cannabis for San Francisco, and it's also a bit powdery cloudy. So we threw in a San Francisco fog accord up top. The heart goes fully floral. It's very floral in the heart. We've got multiple varieties of jasmine. You've got lily of the valley, pittosporum, orange blossom, blue tansy, nutmeg. And then the base, we've got caramelized cashews, Greek custard, musks, and woods. Super awesome, super intoxicating. It took us a long time to create this. And it was my idea to collaborate. I gave him the brief and we collaborated on the Greek inspiration. And most of the inspiration was what I told him about San Francisco and what I would like to see in the fragrance. So this is the first fragrance. We did a quick debut premiere at Scentfest SF, and we also had a few on the perfumeguy.net website. It's gone. Lucky Scent should be getting a few bottles here within a couple of weeks. There's not going to be that many there, about 30. And then the official launch will be at the end of the year. So Soma Panorama. And the name comes from Soma in San Francisco is basically a neighborhood called Soma, south of Market. And then Panorama is a neighborhood in Thessaloniki where the brand's from. So we combined those two neighborhoods together. Anyway, these two I have to have in my collection if I was starting over. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.